second round of the playoffs. They did make news yesterday. According to Woj, they have fired head coach Mike Budenholzer. Move comes after the top-seeded Bucks were eliminated by the Miami Heat in the first round in just 2 years after they won the championship. Not a lot of time there, Wendy. What does this tell you about the Bucks' future and specifically Giannis?
CJ, you're a businessman. Let's say you own an NBA team. Mm-hmm. Every ticket is sold. Every suite is sold. You own the real estate around the arena. Tenants are sold. You have an MVP in his prime under contract. Why would you sell?
You didn't do it, Wendy.
Why would you sell?
Yeah, you're supposed to.
Well, while we were up here arguing about who the MVP was going to be or whether the Lakers are going to make the playoffs, one of the most important things in the NBA happened when the owner of the Bucks, Mark Lazary, sold in the middle of this season.
So why did he do it? Because
of the thundercloud that is on the horizon, that we are now hearing the first round.
Are you saying what I think?
Yes, he is.
Why? Why would he sell? He sold, number one, because he got $3.2 billion valuation.
Yes.
He bought for $700, sold for $3.2. That's pretty good.
That's a pretty good reason.
He also sold because he knew that there was problems coming, and it wasn't because of anything that the Bucks did or any mistake. When a team like this in a mid-market competes for 5 or 6 years, there becomes pressure. Giannis has a contract extension this offseason. Now, he's under contract for 2 more years. But if he doesn't sign that extension, orange light, we got problems. They've got 2 free agents in their 30s, Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, with the repeater tax starting for them next year, and a bunch of new rules, which CJ knows better than anybody because the man negotiated the contract. The rules are set up to penalize teams that are high-salary teams, hamstringing them, and they have to decide on a coach and whether to pay 2 30-year-olds, whether or not, and Giannis can't decide on his extension until September. It's the chicken and egg theory. The Bucks are in a quagmire, and we have the first move with the firing of Budenholzer yesterday.
If you're saying what I think you're saying,
which he is,
where's Giannis going?
You're getting too far ahead of yourself because if I were the Bucks, I would exhaust that. But the Bucks have a real challenge in front of them. And if I'm interviewing for coach, like people are already talking about Nick Nurse.
Yeah.
If I sit down, I'm Nick Nurse. My first question is,
take that job without knowing he's going to be there.
And you can't take the job whether you know you're going to sign the 2 30-year-olds. And it's hard to sign the 2 30-year-olds if you don't know Giannis is going to extend. The owner sold.
The owner did what he felt was the best decision for him.
He got out of Dodge.
And his pockets, which was, I don't blame him selling that team and making that type of profit. But I think if you look at this roster the way it's constructed, small tweaks can still help them win a championship. Giannis was injured. Giannis got hurt in game 1, 11 minutes, missed all of game 2, all of game 3. So to blame the coach as if it's all his fault is not fair.
So I guess you better re-sign the 30-year-olds, right?
Chris Middleton would excel, so I'm all in favor of that.
Well, obviously, keep a close eye on this story as it moves.
And the Los Angeles Lakers. James will has to hoist it up. Banks it in. Nice back and forth here in the second quarter of game 2. Thompson fires up a 3. Got it.
Hello, Klay Thompson. Lighting it up tonight.
Davis went from being the best player on the floor in game 1 to disappearing in game 2. They want to be a little bit more physical with Anthony Davis. This has been a masterful response by the Warriors.
Fascinating series so far between the Warriors and the Lakers. Golden State's win last night has the series tied at a game apiece, going back to LA tomorrow. Historically, when a best-of-7 series is tied at 1 game apiece, the Game 3 winner goes on to win the series 73% of the time. We've talked about the Lakers kind of, flopping in Game 2 after a big Game 1, but a silver lining, maybe the fact that AD played only 33 minutes after playing 44 in Game 1. LeBron, 28 minutes after playing 40 in Game 1. CJ, you play in this league. You know about the grind of the schedule. How important is that for the Lakers to manage the minutes of these guys? I know it sounds silly to manage in playoff, but the ability for them to limit those guys last night, can that have a benefit going forward?
I think it definitely benefits them. They understood the sense of urgency they needed to have in terms of getting one of those games, and they basically blew it all out in game 1, where AD goes and gets 30 and 20, Brian plays 40 minutes, AD plays 44 minutes. There was a huge sense of urgency to get one of those games, and it's almost like they punted game 2 once they seen how serious the Warriors were about it. Once they seen that they weren't going to win, they reduced the minutes, they reduced their aggression, and basically said, we're going to go home and try to figure out how to get game 3. But I don't think you worry about minutes. because you can rest all summer, you can rehab all summer.
Right.
There you go.
AD missed 26 games this year. Bron's missed a ton of games this year. They said he's sleeping 10 to 12 hours a night. He's probably in his hyperbaric chamber. He'll be all right. He'll figure it out. You can get your surgeries in the offseason and do what you got to do. But I think this is a sense of urgency because of the window for LeBron to win championships and for this, play 40 minutes a night and see what happens.
Says the guy who played through injury in the postseason and got his surgery in the offseason.
You get your surgeries in the offseason. You figure it out later.
Right. Now, like, I'm not suggesting that they limit their minutes in the postseason, but I guess my question is, does the fact that their minutes got limited last night, is that a potential silver lining for them in Game 3?
I mean, yeah, if you're looking for a silver lining, it's a business decision. Same way a guy decides to get out the way when he's about to get rocked at the rim. Like, it's a business decision. By the third quarter, this thing was pretty much in hand for the Warriors. And so now you're monitoring the exertion of energy, goes to the conservation of energy. So, yeah, I buy that as a silver lining. And I don't think LeBron or AD, LeBron in particular, were alarmed in the postgame, right? Like LeBron said it. The Warriors were going to hold serve. Now you go back to LA. You have a chance to protect home court.
Yeah, and Dan, I don't think it's just about the actual number of minutes. It's not just like, oh, LeBron's over 40.
Yeah.
It's the way that they have elected to play. In Game 1, they elected to absolutely play at a high tempo. And Steve Kerr was like, oh, well, in the fourth quarter of that game, we were actually fresher than them.
Yeah.
And so we're going to dial it up. So we're going to go smaller and faster. And so it's not just how much out there, it's the style of the way they're out there. And so my question is, now that they know that they're going to probably play small, now that they know that Draymond Green is probably going to be the primary defender on AD, do the Lakers now respond by turning the dial backwards and say, okay, now we're going to use our size advantage and we're going to get into the interior and make you guys have to dig and work in there. That's the back and forth and the ebb and flow. And I think that's what we're going to be paying attention to. It's the speed of the game more important than how much minutes they're actually out there.
Is that what you expect them to do?
I expect them to play a lot slower in terms of getting AD quality touches around the elbow, seeing how assertive and aggressive they can be. But the Lakers team historically has played fast and played in transition. The problem is they can't play as fast as the Warriors. And the other problem is that they're not as efficient and effective from three. The Warriors are basically making 21 threes a game, 40%. They're breaking records. And this is something that they can continue to do. This isn't like, Clay can go 7 for 9 again.
Yeah.
In fact, he just might. Steph Curry can go 6 for 10 from 3 every night. Like, this is something they can do consistently. So the Lakers have to be aggressive and intentional about getting to the free throw line, slowing the game down, and allowing LeBron and AD to overpower them.
So what does that look like then, CJ? Because we asked Jay in the previous segment about how do you slow a game down, right? And yesterday he pointed out that the Lakers would get the rebound or get the ball and they were pushing. And so in many ways that played into the Warriors' hands. So in terms of slowing it down, is it literally bringing the ball up slower? It's allowing AD to get established, whether it's in the pick and roll or if he's going to go and post up Draymond? Like, how literally are they going to slow this down?
I think you run early. You run on misses and makes early so that you have longer possessions to kind of figure things out. So historically, you want to get the ball across half court quickly and then settle everything down. Settle the table down. Bron's strategic. He's smart. He can find his matchups. You want to make Steph Curry guard because that makes him tired. You want to put him in pick and rolls because that wears him down. And that also allows him to have trouble in terms of foul trouble like last night. Him guarding D'Lo was bad for them because D'Lo draws fouls. So there's things that they can take away from that game and say, oh, okay. Let's put Steph in more pick and rolls. Let's wear him out a little bit. Let's run Clay off screens. Austin Reeves has struggled because he's been chasing Clay around. And it's different. When you're dependent upon on offense and defense, and the guy you're guarding is 6'7", it's hard. So strategically figuring out how to let him get in his bag, how to get more out of their bench because Dennis had a good game, Rui had a good game. Now can they get both of them to have a good game? Because if they do, like you said before, you think the Lakers win Game 3? I think the Warriors win Game 3, and I think it's flipped. But either way, it's coin flip down the stretch of this series.
For sure.
It's a coin flip.
For sure.
It's an interesting stat we saw. The Lakers have won 9 games in a row when the series is tied at a game apiece. I mean, that might just be a random weird stat, but I found it interesting. And it is the longest such streak in NBA history. So don't tell me it's not significant. Anyway.
Has it translated to them winning those series?
I don't know. It didn't
All right,
say
then. So I don't know about that.
Do you think that stat's going to matter? That 1-1 stat in terms of 73%? If it goes
historically, no. I think what it matters is if it's 2-2 advantage Warriors, 3-1 advantage Lakers.
He's obsessed with Game 4.
Because it's going to be.
Stop talking about Game 4.
He's right. It is going to be 2-2. It doesn't matter who wins. Either one.
If it's 2-2.
If the Lakers played great in Game 4, that could be it.
Here's the thing, though. In this conversation, there's so much nuance, though. Both teams arguably could have a great Game 3 and 4, and it comes down to a possession. And so now we're talking about the energy exerted. Like I think we're in for more close games like Game 1, not at that speed, than we are clunkers like Game 2.
All right, we got lots more on this as we move along. The Milwaukee Bucks did not make